supremacy isn't just a religion, it's a disease. And unfortunately, like any pathogen, like any disease-carrying agent, white supremacy can adapt to its environment. And what they've done over the last 200 years, and particularly the last 100 years, is show that they are an organism with the attribute of adaptation. They are able to adapt and adjust to their environment to maintain control. And when plantations were no longer an option, and when Jim Crow was no longer an option, they introduced integration. But you notice that the essential elements of it remained unchanged. On the plantations, they had absolute control. In Jim Crow, they maintained absolute control. In integration, they maintained absolute control. At no time does control and power shift from them to you. At no time. And that is why you have to be careful. Everything that they bring you, if it was their thought and their idea and they brought it to you, it is because they know it will not alter the status quo. And that's why they're bringing it to you. Even if they tell you that, even if you come up with the idea and then they say, ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea there. When they say that, you know you're on the wrong track. If they're comfortable with it, you know you're in trouble. The situation today has become so deceptively evil that you can be sitting in a room full of black folk and you've got white supremacists sitting right there in the room with you. With you saying that if only we had a black judge. Okay, that wasn't enough. If only we had a black mayor. Alright, that's not enough either. If only we had a black prosecutor. You had that too. And if we had a black jury. You got that too. And the results were the same. And this is how absolutely disgraceful you are in Baltimore. This is how absolutely inexcusably embarrassing you are in Baltimore. You've got a black city with a black mayor and a black judge and a black prosecutor and a majority black jury, and you still could not convict this cop for killing this man. Because black people have bull-jobbed around and squandered the last century, and particularly the last quarter to half of a century. Completely and thoroughly squandered it. And lately, we have failed to acclimate and to grasp the nuances of the threat that we face. When our beloved immortal elder, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, told you that the problem was white fear of genetic annihilation, what she was trying to tell you is that this is not going to be an issue that goes away. And when Neely Fuller had stated that the problem was that it's not racism, it's white supremacy. He's trying to tell you that it's a global system. That's what he was attempting to tell you. That it's a global system. It's a global problem. And we, as black people, have been so focused on the global part. We've been so focused on that that we fail to grasp the systemic part of it. You are up against a systemic problem, a systemic issue that we have named white supremacy. It is a systemic issue. And the problem with this systemic issue is that white supremacy understands that in order to perpetuate itself, it must evolve. It must evolve repeatedly. And part of that evolutionary process, one of the greatest tools in that evolutionary process, is its ability to co-opt members of the group that they are conquering or have conquered. Barack Obama is the quintessential example of what happens when your enemies co-opt someone who would seemingly be a member of your group. Over half a decade ago, Professor Black Truth and I sat at these very microphones and warned everyone who would listen that we have entered, not we're on the way, not we may get there sooner or later. We are in the single deadliest, most dangerous period of history in the history of African people. This is the most dangerous period. You see, before you had colonists, you didn't have black folk who were owned by Europeans, and by owned, I mean that they have given their spiritual and emotional allegiance to them. You had black people who had rivalries with other Africans, but you didn't have any Africans who were wholly bought and owned subsidiaries of white supremacy. You did not have that before you had the European colonists show up. You didn't have that. Today, the situation has become so crucial and is so insidious. The situation today has become so deceptively evil that you can be sitting in a room full of black folk and you got white supremacists sitting right there in the room with you. It can be a room full of nothing but other black people, and you will still have card-carrying, ardent white supremacists sitting right there in the room with you. And that's the situation we're looking at right now. You see, you thought this was gonna be easy. You thought this was gonna be just as simple as, well, I can phone it in. I show up and vote, I'm done. I show up and protest, I'm done. It will not be that simple. It's not gonna be that easy. With you saying that if only we had a black judge. Okay, that wasn't enough. If only we had a black mayor. Alright, that's not enough either. If only we had a black prosecutor. You had that too. And if we had a black jury. You got that too. And the results were the same. When our beloved immortal elder, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, told you that the problem was white fear of genetic annihilation, what she was trying to tell you is that this is not going to be an issue that goes away. When our beloved immortal elder, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, told you that the problem was white fear of genetic annihilation. What she was trying to tell you is that this is not going to be an issue that goes away.